So, Mr. Speaker, I find it kind of ironic and actually kind of shameful that the member from Moncton Southwest, when she was in government from 2010 to 2014, had no concern about speed zones in school areas, Mr. Speaker. I can tell you there's one school in her area that she represents that has brought forth concerns that were brought forth, Mr. Speaker, in 2007, which was when a Liberal government was in place. What was done then, Mr. Speaker? A full evaluation of that area was done by the professional engineers in the department. They came back with a recommendation which the government followed because it was the right thing to do. It was for the safety of the children. Fast forward, Mr. Speaker, to 2010. Conservative government gets elected. The member from Southwest, who's now in opposition, was a member of that government from 2010 to 14. Mr. Speaker, see the member from Fredericton is trying to interrupt. He can have his turn to speak on this as well, and we could hear whether he wants to play politics with children or whether he wants to do the right thing as well. But we'll find out when the vote comes, Mr. Speaker. So again, order. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for bringing decorum back to the House. I really appreciate that. I'm trying to speak on a very important subject that affects the safety and the well-being of children that attend our schools in the province, and to be mocked by the member from Fredericton across the way, the former critic for DTI, is shameful. When we're talking about such a serious subject about the children that attend our schools in the province of New Brunswick, Mr. Speaker. So I'm going to continue. 2010 to 14, the member from Moncton Southwest, obviously there was no issue then when she was elected in government. She didn't raise the issue. She didn't bring the issue forward. There were no media stories in those 4 years. All of a sudden, fast forward, Mr. Speaker, to 2014. A new government elected. A government under the leadership of our Premier, a Liberal government, is doing the right thing, who's getting things done here in the province. What happens? The member from Southwest Moncton Southwest, all of a sudden has an issue with speeds again that she didn't have an issue with for 4 years. So I don't know whether she didn't care for the children from 2010 to 14 or what the problem was, but all of a sudden in 2014 she has an issue. So I'll tell you, when I got involved, Mr. Speaker, the minute that I was made aware, Mr. Speaker. Order. Mr. Speaker, I'll continue. The minute that I was contacted by the Parent-Teacher Committee at Magnetic Hill and the principal, I got in my car, Mr. Speaker, and I drove. I actually invited the member from Moncton Southwest, the member from Moncton Southwest who's in opposition. I invited her to the meeting. I had my engineers with me. I had the professionals from my team with me, and we listened to the concerns that were raised by the principal, Parent-Teacher Committee, Mr. Speaker. We took action, Mr. Speaker. We found out that there were other issues at Magnetic Hill besides just the speed limit. In fact, the principal said at that meeting, Mr. Speaker, that the primary issue isn't the speed. There's other issues. So I made a suggestion and a recommendation to the Parent-Teacher Committee and to the District Education Council when I was at that meeting. I recommended they do a study on the traffic pattern at the school, on the parking area at the school, Mr. Speaker. The member from Moncton Southwest was there when I made that recommendation, Mr. Speaker, because I invited her, because it was the area that she represents. And I'm not playing politics with this, Mr. Speaker. I want to do what is right, Mr. Speaker. So that's why the member from Moncton Southwest, and she might want to laugh because she thinks this is funny. I don't think the safety and security of the children attending our schools is something to joke about, Mr. Speaker. I take it very seriously. And I take offense when the member from Moncton Southwest goes on the radio saying, well, I changed the speed limit. She wouldn't do it in 2010 to 14, Mr. Speaker, but she'd do it now when she's in opposition. And she'd be doing it for the wrong reason, Mr. Speaker. So I'll tell you, we went back again to meet with the DEC, with the Parent-Teacher Committee, and I was surprised to learn that the District Education Council didn't make a priority in their priority list to the Department of Education the study for the parking area. So I asked them to please change their priority list and make that a priority. because it became very clear and very evident to me, Mr. Speaker, and it became very clear after my department put Mia Vision cameras on the highway and recorded the traffic flow for a 3-day period after the school resumed and started in September, Mr. Speaker. So we got a very clear picture, a video picture of exactly what some of the issues are. And they were exactly what the principal identified in the meeting that I had with him in June, a meeting that the member from Moncton Southwest attended, Mr. Speaker. Yet she still has the audacity to go out in the public and try to fearmonger people in that area, saying that we don't care about children, that I don't care about the safety of the children. Shame on her, Mr. Speaker, shame on her. So I would hope that as we move forward, the members opposite would support this bill, because it's the right thing to do. It's taken the politics out of it. I had a question from a reporter in the scrum, which I found interesting. They asked me the question. They said, well, Minister, how do you do it now? I said, I follow the recommendations of our engineers. And they said, well, why are you bringing changes to the Motor Vehicle Act? If you already follow the recommendations, why are you bringing changes? I said, I'm bringing changes because I'm afraid of whoever the next minister might be. Maybe they won't follow that. And it's very clear the member from Moncton Southwest wouldn't, because she made it very clear that she does things for politics, not for the right reason. So to take the politics out of it, that's why we brought this forward, to ensure that from now on, the politics will be taken out of this, and any changes that are made are done for the right reason. They're done for the safety of the children in the school, safety of the motoring public, and the safety of the people that work in that school, Mr. Speaker. So the members on this side of the House, we're going to support this, and we darn well better get support from them, because if they don't support it, shame on them, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.